All right, guys, welcome to Let's Get Deep Bible Study. Tonight we are going to be going over Exodus 13 and 14, Yah willing. That's my plans for us to get to those two chapters, but we shall see. So starting at Exodus 13, last week we left off with Yah telling Israel, natural branches, and the foreigner residing among them, and those who are strangers, if they're going to be in the house, if they're saying that they're going to take the Passover meal, they are now part of Israel. That there's the same rules for the natural born and the stranger who dwells among you. That they must all the men have to be circumcised if they're partaking in this Passover meal, because this is you saying I belong to Yah now. Regardless if you were born through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or if you're a stranger amongst the nation who came out of Egypt with them. If you're doing this Passover, you are also going to be circumcised. So again, chapter 13 goes into consecration of the firstborn. It says, Yahuwah said to Moses, consecrate to me every firstborn male. The first offspring of every womb among the Israelites belongs to me, whether it's human or an animal. And so this word right here, sanctify unto all the firstborns. That word sanctify is the same word for holy or kodesh, which he's saying you are going to consecrate, you are going to dedicate, you are going to literally, these are separated. They're holy. The same word that's used for us, that we're supposed to be a holy people, a set apart nation. It's the same word that Yah is saying. Within my sanctified people, your firstborn is sanctified amongst the sanctified. So we're getting this picture of set apart. They're already set apart, but these firstborn are going to be set apart within the set apart. Again, males, headship, head of house. The men are supposed, like every firstborn male, every head of house is supposed to literally become holy like a priest, per se. Like this man is dedicated to Yah. No questions asked. You don't get to say so, son. Your parents are sanctifying your firstborn. So Yah's already showing us this structure. If we're supposed to be a nation of kings and priests, and every firstborn male is to be sanctified and set apart, it's already showing us this picture that if the firstborn is the firstborn, that makes him the next head of house already. So if you sanctify the firstborn, everybody else that comes from the firstborn, everybody else in the family should therefore is going to learn and be taught by one who's sanctified. So there shouldn't be any gaps in our holiness, because if you're consecrating the men, the firstborn males, the ones who are going to run things, who are going to be the heads of tribes and nations in their families. Again, we talked about the flow. If the head is sanctified and holy, then the rest of the body should flow from that. And we're seeing Yah set up this order, this reminder again, even in this. Okay. Oh, questions, commentary, questions, commentary, comments.
That's so good.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Moses said to the people, commemorate this day, the day you came out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, because Yahuwah brought you out with a mighty hand. Eat nothing containing yeast. So we know last time we talked about this, the deep transformative revelation of unleavened bread. It's not just you're not eating leaven for 7 days. It's the act of literally seeking out the sin to remove it from your life, remove it from your house. And so he's like, you're not supposed to eat anything with yeast in it. And again, this is during the same time we're also consecrating the men. So you can't consecrate men if there's sin in the midst. So you see how all these things work together? He said, I brought you out with a high man hand. Don't eat yeast. Today is the month of Abib. You are leaving. When Yahuwah brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hivites, Amorites, Hivitites, Jebusites, the land he swore to your ancestors to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, you are to observe this ceremony in this month. For 7 days, eat bread made without yeast, and on the 7th day, hold a festival to Yahuwah. Eat unleavened bread during those 7 days. Nothing with yeast in it is to be seen among you. Not just don't eat it, don't touch it. You shouldn't even be looking at sin. It shouldn't even be in the midst. It shouldn't even be on your mind. Okay, so remember, yeast is sin, it's uncleanliness. Get it out. This is a holy consecrated time. Nor shall any yeast be seen anywhere within your borders. Again, setting the foundation for holiness as a nation. The borders of Israel are the entirety of Israel. There is not supposed to be sin anywhere. So, sometimes we talk about, I'm just going to put it in my garage. No, I'm just going to keep it in my car, because I don't want to throw out my bread. Like, I'm talking about our mindset, how we normally keep unleavened bread because we don't want to be wasteful, in our fleshly understanding of mind. But like Yah's saying here, I need you to understand that yeast represents uncleanliness, it represents sin, it represents bondage. I'm saying it's nowhere in your borders. It's not even in your car hiding for you to get so you can get it back out. If you want yeast again after 7 days, you're gonna have to cook it up yourself. Like, again, yeast equating to sin. If you want to bring sin back in the camp, you're gonna have to cook it up. Like, it shouldn't be seen, shouldn't be touched. It's not even in distance for you to be like, it's just not there. It's not in the borders of Israel, a holy people. Not saying you can't have bread. Y'all know what I'm saying. I'm using all the metaphors for understanding that, like, this is how serious Yah is about getting the leaven out. It's not in your house. It's not in your neighbor's house. It's not even on the street. It's not even on the sidewalk. It's not. Imagine wherever you live. If you live in Canada, or if you live in America, or if you live in Switzerland, there's no sin in the country. Imagine that. There's no sin in where the borders of where you live, in the territories and the provinces. It's not there. You can't find it. That's how holy of a nation Israel is called to be.
But as a nation too, they're all holding each other accountable. So it's not easy, like it's they prepare. Like everybody community wise prepares for that season, prepares to, get rid of the leaven, and then they're holding each other accountable. So it's not like a whole bunch of little groups like we over here and we got our clique and we doing this and we doing that. They're all focused on this. We're supposed to be remembering how Yah pulled us out and what he saved us for. And with that same goal in mind, then they're not letting that stuff come in.
Oh, hey Desi, I see you're messing. I'm about to share the notes now. Sorry, sharing them now. Okay. So the notes should be visible now. Sorry, guys. Okay. Where did I stop? Okay, within your borders. Verse 8. On that day, tell your son, I do this. Again, that repetition, you're supposed to be teach your children, teach them how to walk in my ways. Okay, so the fathers are now telling their sons, there's been some generations, it's been some, not even generations, it's been a year has passed. It's been 2 years, however long, every year during Passover, because your kids didn't go through what you went through. Your kids don't have the understanding or the revelation that you have. So it is your job to teach your children when they be like, so why do we do this? Why are we throwing away all the leaven? Why are we literally eradicating the thing that makes bread? Why are we destroying all that, Papa? Why are we destroying all that, Mom? Like, what's going on? Tell your sons, we do this, or in saying it says, I do this because of what Yahuwah did for me. Again, you are imparting what Yah has done for you to your children, because they look at you for an example of who Yah is. They haven't experienced Yahuwah as you have experienced, or how you are experiencing him, or they shouldn't have, because again, you are the adult, you are the teacher, you're the one that's training your child. So now you're telling them, we do this because what Yahuwah did for me when I came out of bondage, when I came out of Egypt. This observance will be for you like a sign. This is the part I want to get to. This observance, this Passover, this unleavened bread is a sign on your head and a reminder on your forehead that this law of Yahuwah is to be on your lips. Keeping the feast days are not just about keeping the feast days. It's a teaching moment. It's a remembrance. It's a commemoration. It is a sign. It is a sealing, because all this is about covenant. You are literally walking your children through your covenant ceremony of when you agree to walk with Yah and what he requires of you and why, because it was such an amazing thing and how he freed you from your change, from your bondage, from whatever it is he freed you from. For Israel, it's a physical deliverance that we are still waiting for the full revelation of that full deliverance, but there's spiritual Egypts that he has broke us out of already. And so it says the law is supposed to be on your lips. And so, where is that at? Isaiah 59:21. As for me, this is my covenant with them, saith Yahuwah. My spirit is upon thee, and my words which I have put in your mouth shall not depart out of your mouth, nor out of the mouth of your seed, nor out of the mouth of thy seed, says Yahuwah, from henceforth and forever. So Isaiah, he knew Torah. Isaiah knew what Yah had said in Genesis, in Exodus, in Leviticus, in Numbers, in Deuteronomy. He knew. So when Yahuwah is using Isaiah to give a prophetic word, he's literally saying the same thing that Yah told them in Exodus 13. This is supposed to be on your lips. And he's literally saying, on your lips, on your children's lips, and on your children's lips. Because the men are supposed to reiterate the law of Yahuwah, which is supposed to be a sign on your head and a sign and a reminder within your forehead. So the word of Yah, the promises of Yah, the covenant of Yah, it's not just something that you talk about. It's it's on what you do, and it's how you think. It is literally a sign that you belong to him. Covenant marriage of Passover and keeping unleavened bread are literally ceremonial ritual. It was a blood ritual that happened. They killed a lamb, they put the blood on the door. We ain't got to keep it like, there's no reason to be cute over here. It was a blood ritual. Yahusha dying for us was a blood ritual. It's not supposed to sound cute and fancy and all clean. It wasn't clean. It was messy. It was painful. It was sacrificial. It was serious. Y'all don't play about blood. We're not a people who dibble and dabble and just killing things to be killing things. No, my ancestors understood that life is in the blood, which is why y'all said we don't drink it, we don't eat it, none of that stuff. If you're killing an animal, you drain the blood, it's on the altar, and then you burn the meat. You didn't do this just to do it. See, in these times, we didn't really eat meat like that a lot. If you were eating meat, it's because there was an offering, there was a sacrifice that had to be done. There was an atonement that was happening. You're killing an animal to atone for sin. So it wasn't like, us just going and eating chicken every night or eating lamb every night. Like if you were eating lamb or beef, or any kind of clean animal that Yah called us to use for sacrifice purposes, it means that you were doing the ceremony. You were doing literally a cutting of an animal for the remission of sin. And so you can see why Yah later on, he gets so upset when the priests are getting fat off of the offerings, because they're eating the portion that they're not supposed to eat, because you don't forgot how serious this was. I don't want to get too much into that because we're not talking about that today. But yes, so the seriousness of keeping this law of Yahuwah on your lips, a sign on your hand, a reminder on your forehead. And the mark of the forehead is a sign of exemption from judgment. So we see that again in Ezekiel 9, chapter 9, verse 4. And I read about this last summer, I think? But it was like Yah was showing me the parallels between Ezekiel 9 and Revelations, where Yah sealing up his people before he sends more severe plagues on the earth, saying, don't touch the ones that have my seal. He says the same thing in Ezekiel chapter 9. And it's the same thing that happened with Exodus. Those who were obedient and put the blood on their doorposts, they were exempt from the judgment of the death angel coming and snatching up all the firstborns of Egypt. But Yah still requires that you sanctify your firstborns. They belong to him.
Amara, that makes me think about like how again we're talking about praying for the men and the importance of them, you know, like for their generations. And like as women, we nurture, you know, I mean, we're gonna make sure they take a bath and, you know, say your prayers and be structured with some stuff. But like this generation to generation to generation, like the next part, you know, when like the man is not present somewhere, right? Like for all of those things, like it's different when I can fuss all day long. I can say it 300 times. My husband get up and say, "What your mama say?" And like all of that. I'm like, I've been in here doing the most for a whole hour, and he literally can shut it down. It's very different, but the men being in their place, them in this particular passage, knowing their assignment, right? And that's for everything. They say, my best friend, my workers, my employees, my children, anything within reach, anything that I steward over, anything that I associate with, right? To be able to, and with the distinct notice, it's almost like you watching a TV show and the father is telling the son, and you're going to tell your son, you're you know, you're going to share this when you grow up, you're going to do the same thing. And the little 4-year-old is like, really, dad? And then they do grow up and they're going to say, I remember when my father told, you know, because you know that was going to go on. So because they're in the space that they need to be to for real study and know and hear, obey, then that word can go on. So how did it get lost? Right? Like, but the intent was always for, and this resonates with me because I've always prayed like my children's children, you know, like I already know, like I'm saying things I'm trying to break, things I'm victorious over. I want my children's children, you know, that 7 generations ahead to walk in that same victory for that. And it just makes me think of this passage about the men. Like that is the whole part.
Everything is coming back to proper order and function. And I've kind of been talking about this for a while now. And I just feel that Yah is expanding, like, you know, I ain't never really want to be on here teaching and stuff like that. Like, I like to read the word. I like to, you know, but like, if I can, you guys want to join me as we read the word together, cool. But Yah's also showing me like that there are men who are starting to wake up now. Not saying that they haven't been, but more men are starting to wake up. And I also believe it's one because a lot of his daughters have been praying, have been interceding, have been fasting for the men in their life. But it's because Yah's Ruach is in us, yes. But because his Ruach is in us, we have a desire to see his sons in their proper place. And when we're going through our scripture and we're reading what the word of Yahuwah has said about telling your sons and your seed, we don't, yes, you know, a woman has like we receive seed, right? But we know that it goes through the male, like, you know, the continuation of a house is through the men. And so if the men don't understand the seriousness of covenant, men don't understand the seriousness of sanctification and ordering your house and teaching your children in the right way, you can dismantle an entire generation in one generation. You can dismantle an entire kingdom with one bad seed. And we see that with the kings. Like, okay, we had a righteous king, and then boom, his son was wicked. And like it just undid everything righteous that the previous king established, set up, and was even working to sanctify. So this understanding of, nah, you really need to be hands-on with teaching your sons, with teaching your children what Yah has called, and that they fall in love with Yah them for themselves, because that's what's going to propel it forward. I did want to mention this too. So in Genesis 2 and 3, we hear that this is the first time we see sanctify, because it talks about sanctifying your firstborns. But the first time that word is ever mentioned is literally sanctification of the 7th day. The sanctification of Sabbath, that's the first time we get the word sanctified or holy. And it says, because of this, Yahuwah rested from his work and everything he created. So if y'all saying, sanctify your firstborn unto me, and the Sabbath is the first time we're hearing the word, anything that's being sanctified is the Sabbath. And the Sabbath is also a sign that you're his. Keeping this feast, Passover unleavened bread, is a sign that you are his. And this law is a sign that's supposed to be on your mouth. Being holy, keeping the Sabbath, being obedient to Yah's feast, all of these are supposed to be signals of who you belong to. And if you're saying, oh, I don't need to keep the Sabbath, I'm sanctified outside of what Yah said, I don't have to do what Yah says, you're by default, you're saying, I don't need the sign that says I belong to Yah. When he's saying that these are signs that you belong to me. The next time we see it in Leviticus, or not the next time, but we see it again in Leviticus 20, and ye shall keep my statutes and do them. I am Yahuwah, which sanctify you. He's already telling us, keep my instructions because I'm the one that's sanctifying you. These are my instructions. So if you're doing anything that belongs to me, it is going to sanctify you if you actually walk in it with a heart that wants to walk in it. Like, that's how it works. It's not like you're doing them just to do them and you really don't want to do them. Then it's not going to be active in your life. Again, we got in Jeremiah 17, and it shall come to pass, if you would diligently hearken, listen unto me, saith Yahuwah, bring in no burden into the gates on this day on the Sabbath, but sanctify the Sabbath day and do no work therein. Isaiah 5:16. But Yahuwah of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and Elohim that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. So if you have some time, you can go through your Bible and type in sanctified or type in holy, but really it's H6942 if you have concordance, and you can just go through and see every time this word sanctified and holy comes up, and then reading it within the context of how Yahuwah is talking to his people. And that's a really good starting place to really understand the seriousness of sanctification, and how it's directly connected to being in Yah's kingdom, being his child, being his vessel. Verse 10. Oh, wait, no. For Yahuwah brought you out of Egypt with his mighty hand. You must keep this ordinance at the appointed time year after year. It didn't say you can kind of sort of keep it. It said you must. I don't know what y'all's translations say. This is the NIV that I'm reading from. But mine says you must keep. It wasn't like a suggestion or like, oh, no, well, maybe later you can forget about it. No, it says you must keep this ordinance at the appointed time year after year. After Yahuwah brings you into the land of the Canaanites and gives it to you as he promised an oath to you and your ancestors, you are to give over to Yahuwah, he's saying it again, the first offspring of every womb. All the firstborn males of your livestock belong to Yahuwah. Redeem with a lamb every firstborn donkey, but if you do not redeem it, break its neck. Redeem every firstborn among your sons. So I was just, what do we mean about breaking its neck? And so, but it's in conjunction with, if you're not going to redeem it, it's literally dead, like break its neck. It's literally like, if you're not going to redeem it, if you don't want to be redeemed by the blood, you are literally sentencing yourself to die. Like, you're literally saying, I'd rather have my neck broke. What happens if you break your neck? You're severed from your heart, from your breathing, from your lungs. And so we're seeing this picture. If you refuse to redeem with the lamb, then it's just a waste. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Because like, that's all I got when I first read about if you don't redeem it, then you have to break its neck. And I was just like, dang. But then I was like, oh, okay. Like, you're choosing not to redeem it. If you don't want to redeem it, then it's dead. Which is why we have to be redeemed. Okay. 14. In the days to come, when your sons ask you, saying this again, when your sons ask you, what does this mean? Say to him, with a mighty hand, Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, Yahuwah killed the firstborns of both people and animals in Egypt. This is why I sacrificed to Yahuwah the first male offspring of every womb and redeem each of my firstborn sons. So literally it's showing that if you don't redeem it with the blood, you're going to die just like, again, the Egyptians in the land of Egypt, those who refused to put the blood on the door, they literally, everyone got their necks broke. Everybody died who did not get the lamb and put it on the doorpost. And so we know that is a foreshadow to, if you refuse the sacrifice and redemptive work of Yahushua HaMashiach, you are already dead. The blood saves our life, redeems our life to literally be born again and to get into covenant, to be in the house that has the blood over the door, the entry. But if you refuse that, you're going to be like what happened to Egypt, what happened to these donkeys will happen to you. It may not be immediate because we see a lot of people walking around who refuse the blood of Hamashiach. But when their time is up, it would have been if they were a donkey with their neck broken. Thoughts, comments, commentary? Okay. Verse 16. And it will be like a sign, again, and it will be like a sign on your hand and a symbol on your forehead that Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt with his mighty hand. He repeats himself for a reason. He doesn't repeat himself just because, like, Yah's word does not come back void. He doesn't say anything in vain. I always say if Yah says it 2 times, he mean it. Like he doesn't need to say anything 2 times, but like even in this chapter, like he literally just said that not even 10 verses ago, and he's repeating it again. So we should pay attention. We should understand what Yah is really saying. It's like these are symbols. When Pharaoh let the people go, Elohim did not lead them through the road through the Philistine country, though it was shorter. For Elohim said, if they face war, they might change their mind and return to Egypt. Woo! They kind of talked about what we were talking about earlier this morning. Earlier on the call on, when we left Egypt, we're coming into covenant with Yah, we took the Passover, then we start to face some opposition. So Yah knows that about us. He knows that about our character. He knows that about our immature heart posture when we first say yes to him, that if it's too much opposition, they might change their minds and just go back to Egypt. And I know I've seen some brothers and sisters who have come into this walk, come into the knowledge of who they are in truth, and they get into some confrontations too soon, or they get into some conversations or some discussions too early on, and it's too much for them that they're just, oh, fine, I'll just go back to Catholicism. Oh, I'll just go back to Christianity. Oh, I'll just go back to practicing Buddhism. Oh, I'll just go back to, doing like new age stuff. Like we see it. We've seen it. And so Yah saying, because I'm a good father, I'm going to take you through a longer route. And sometimes we don't understand this hindsight. Yah sees it all in hindsight. Us, we're in what we see with our eyes is right in front of us. We're just like, wow. People ask all the time, why did they just didn't go the short route? Because Yah knows that even though you would have got to the promised land faster, you may have not made it there at all because of the opposition. You weren't prepared yet for the opposition that may have looked like the shorter way to get somewhere. But Yah's like, I'm going to take you the longer route because I really want to walk with you and prune you and purify you and sanctify you and cut off some things and show you who I am so you can trust me that I got this. Questions, comments, commentary?
Well, that's the work, right? I mean, we were talking about that earlier this week, that maybe it's not like total opposition, but just as you grow, because like me by myself is totally different than me as a parent, right? Or as my status changes for maturity, now I have to cater or love on my husband a certain way, right? I could go to bed hungry, but I might have to think about them, type of thing. But that's part of the work of it, not just totally running back for stuff to what's familiar. It's the work, and he's given you time to work through those things so you can get a deeper understanding too. Because if he gave you a book and said, just like what we have right now, we got something right in front of us that we can reach back and say, oh, there's an example, there's an example. But when it's your actual time to stand in that moment, you see it a lot different, like, oh, okay, well, I could give up meat. Well, and I'm not saying everybody should give up meat or whatever, but I don't really like meat like that. So maybe that's not an issue for you. But with me, I would say you make me give up coffee. I want to know why. I mean, we might have to have a discussion for some stuff, but it's part of that journey. It's part of that, like, let's go through, the purification, the, how do you say it? Like relationship, building a relationship and trust part for that process and that part of the journey.
I like it because Yah's saying the fastest way is not always the best way too. All those things that you were saying, Taryn, about the sanctification, the process, like when it's happening to you, now you're really understanding and seeing, although we got the instruction manual, reading about it and walking in it are completely different. But Yahuwah, again, he also already knows Israel's heart, because he's saying this, like, if they face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. And we knew that's where their heart and their mind was already, because as they were walking through the wilderness, they were like, oh, we missed the leeks and the melons and the youngins, and we had fish. At least we had that in Egypt. Like, you brought us out here to die. Like, he already knew that they were already in a very fickle space in their heart. Yeah, they just did Passover. Yeah, they just did unleavened bread. But y'all still like, we got a lot of work to do, because I already know in your heart of hearts, you want any excuse to go back to Egypt. Like, you saying you love me and you want to walk with me and that you fear me, but like, you will choose any excuse, any little hardship to be like, oh, I'm done, I'm going back. He's like, it ain't even been 40 days. And so, because he knows that about us, he knows the predilections in our heart. He's just like, look, I'm not even gonna send them that way, because, not saying that they weren't gonna face a lot of war, but like he said, if they face like a huge war, like, because we know we're gonna get into the battle scene later, but it's just like, I just want to point out the fact that Yahuwah knows how easily we could be led back into the slaughterhouse that we just exited from. And because he loves us, and he does not want to see anyone lost, he doesn't see anybody deceived, he's like, I'm going to take you another route. So Elohim led the people around by the desert road towards the Red Sea. The Israelites went up out of Egypt ready for battle. So I thought that was interesting, because it says they were ready for a battle, but y'all also knows that, like, they were ready for battle, but they might have not been like this type of battle ready, like facing war type of battle ready. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, because Joseph had made the Israelites swear an oath, and he said, Elohim will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up with you from this place. After leaving Sukkot, they camped by Etham on the edge of the desert. By day, Yahuwah went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so they could travel by day or night. Neither the pillar of cloud by day nor the fire by night left its place in front of the people. So, because he knows that they could turn around at any moment and want to go back to Egypt, Yah is having this constant wonder of his presence around them 24 hours a day, by day or by night. Nothing's going to stop you from the moving, from the process of what Yah wants to walk you in. And so this is a beautiful picture of saying, like, I know you're scared. I know you just left Egypt. It may have looked like it was comfortable. It was familiar there. You were comfortable. You're okay with being beat every now and again. But I was like, I want to bring you to full freedom. And I know, because you don't quite really know me yet. Yes, I know you said yes to a marriage vow covenant. But when the things really got rough, you may be led into being, brought back. So I'm going to literally show you. I want you to see with your eyes that I am before you and behind you. I'm all around. I'm going to literally make sure that the enemy can't touch you. And I think sometimes we forget that, because again, we don't have fires and clears of clouds following us around all day long. But he did tell us we have angels. We have angels with us. We have his messengers that literally surround us, but we can't see it. But our ancestors, they got to see it. And so I think for us, that's why Yahusha talks about how, like, us being a generation, how we have a greater faith because, like, we believe and we haven't even seen. But my ancestors, they saw and they were still like, dang, but Egypt though. Imagine, can you imagine? Like, y'all done pulled you out to church and you're literally seeing a pillar of fire and a cloud by day. And you're still like, but like, I really do miss like how easily it was for me to just show up at a Bible study and have community like that. But yeah, I was like, I'm trying to do something new in you. And you are literally seeing fire and pillars of clouds. I think, I don't know, y'all. It's kind of, when I read this, I'm giving my people grace. I'm giving my ancestors grace because I don't know.
I literally just bust out laughing. You said, but Egypt. But I have been thinking about, because, everything in the world is getting a little crazy. Okay. So I've been thinking about the second Exodus a lot. Like, I'm talking about having dreams about it and everything like that. And me and my husband were talking about it. I had made a little jokey joke. I was like, well, how we gonna brush our teeth in the wilderness? And then I had put it on Threads and somebody responded to me. It was like, you already, like, just joking. They were like, you already acting like the first ones, like our ancestors. But my husband was like, no, it's really gonna be people like really like that. Like, dang, we had all this in America. We had Amazon. We had all this, and like he just brought us out here to die. So it's like we have to we have to make sure we do not repeat what they did. Like, because it's really gonna be people like that. Like, dang, like we want to go back to Babylon. We want to go back to America. We had it good over there.
And I
So
feel
that
like
just.
I feel like we're already seeing that happen, like
Mm-hmm.
subtly. Like, I believe that what we're experiencing now is a type of exodus. It's a type of wilderness
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like Yah is already like stripping us from a lot of that stuff. But
Mm.
how many times do you be like, dang, I miss like going to the club and I miss like doing
Girl,
like that's the same as
yes.
saying, oh, I want to go back. That's the bondage he saved you from, but you're still reminiscing on how good it was over there.
And how fun it was.
You're
Like,
still reminiscing on
right.
how easy, like literally, oh my gosh, I have to repent now. Abba, forgive me. But when I was sitting there for the last 2 months, I'm like, yeah, like it would have been so much easier if I wasn't just like proclaiming your word and telling people to repent. Like, I've had connections to people who are millionaires that I had to give a word to, and I
Mm-hmm.
ruined not ruined, but like it destroyed that network.
Connection, I get right.
You know how people are like, oh, Christian networking. Yeah, I was like, I'm not calling you to be a Christian network. I'm calling you to be a kingdom builder and tear down idols. When you do my work, you're not going to have that type of connection to get a cushion in your life the way that you thought. And that was, he
Mm-hmm.
was really convicting me these last 2 months. I'm just like, dang, it was so many people. Like, my idea of building this nanny agency would have been so easy if I wasn't walking with Yah, because okay, boom, they work for the Baltimore Ravens. Boom, they work for a Black-owned magazine company. Boom, they own a financial advisory system that's raking in so many millions of dollars every year. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
know the people that I want to service. Like, and they don't even think about throwing $50,000 at a nanny yearly. And they're things,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, but yeah, I was like, I didn't call you to build a business and just slap on a Bible verse and say, like
Like a lot of them do,
this
right?
is a
Yes.
this is a faith-based business. But it's just like, but when y'all's like, no, say this, and I had to repent for that. I'm just like, wow, that was literally, I'm in my wilderness, and I'm still thinking about like, but if I would have just, and if I was just still over there, and if I was just not, if I didn't have the revelation of this or that, if I wasn't walking in obedience, I could have had vain things. Oh, a steady paycheck. Oh, I would have probably had a house by now or three, but it's just like, if I was in the moment, I was just like, wow. See how easy it is, and we're not even in that physical wilderness of walking through some dust and some shrubbery. It's just literally the mindset of being like, I'm removing you from this Babylonian system of getting wealth, get it, like the way that they tell you to get it and all these things like that. And I'm saying, I want you to come follow me. And it's like that parable, Yahushua was like, sell everything you got, sell everything and follow me. Or will you do that? And we're just like, everything, let go of all of my plans to generate generational wealth according to American and Babylonian standards. He's just like, yeah. I'm just like, ooh, that's a tough ass. Now I can keep these commandments. I can do that, but selling everything.
But surface stuff, remember?
Yeah.
The surface stuff. So that would be like the milk, right? And then something deeper. You know, I think about like everybody I partied with before I had kids. And then once I had kids, my circle I cut because like if something happened to me today, are you gonna be there to pray for my daughter and care for her and do, you know, and all those type of things? So whenever, you know, I could get along with 500 people at work and that sort of thing, you know, and be real sociable and personable. But it really became like I when it came down to it, as far as somebody who I really broke bread with, it was like, could they be there to cover and nurture, or even like just me? Like something happened for me. My husband had his surgery. I mean, two or three of my girlfriends was like, "Do you need me to get a ticket?" And I just paused for a minute because that just blessed me. I mean, like they would drop everything with their families to come, and I was like, that next level stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you got the surface level stuff, but the part of this cutting away or this new stuff, you don't get generational blessings like this unless you really thinking about, you know, somebody's connecting with you on the level of like, I do care if maybe you're gonna spend the rest of your life, you know, whatever, in Buswell hell wide open. I do care about your, you know, your family, your mother, your, you know, like all of those types of things. So the surface stuff is, yeah, we like our comforts. Because when Natalie was talking about that, I was like, no baby powder. Like, Lord have mercy. Do you know what Texas heat is like? We gotta be out there, like. And then I'm just thinking about, you know, how many people don't wash their hands. Like, we're gonna be somewhere like maybe not like in the context of that story, right? But the deeper message is that he's bringing us to a better place of, you know,
Yeah.
for that. And
And
Samaria, for you, as
then,
much as you keep saying like, man, I didn't have access to all these people. I think he just gave you a taste of that. So when your elevation for real hit, you not gonna be like you're not gonna be wild when people come into your spaces because you saw this early, not even walking totally in your purpose. So that nanny part of, you know, like you didn't seem very affluent people and been in the inner, you know, heard them on their staff meetings and stuff like that. So that's just preparation for you. This is part of just those steps, like not totally with Joseph, because I don't think people doing you wrong, but you know, but just the whole part of like in the beginning when you have your reflection is gonna you'll be able to see that like, yup, I remember when, because he already put you in those spaces.
yeah. And I think it also I knew for me it was proving like, the wilderness is proving ground. Like where you are right now, y'all's gonna continually proving and pruning you. I know I could look at it from my own life and how y'all's proving me. He's just like, will you not give a word just because you're worried about a connection? He's like, oh, so you'll still get that word knowing they'll fire you. Okay, cool. You really about this work. Like, and I knew like that was y'all was just like, oh, you made that connection. Like they seem like they really love me, right? Like, they're really in the church and they say they say in Jesus this and hallelujah that for every sentence. But like when I say, reveal to them about X, Y, and Z. Show them what my word says about this. Will you do it, or will you be more concerned with keeping that relationship with that person? And it was just like, I fear you, Abba. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. And if they're really yours, then like maybe later they'll come back, like Sister Anna was saying, like, who knows? Maybe some of these people I've talked to over 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, planting seeds of being like, yeah, I just wants to purge you. He just wants to cleanse you. He wants you to move X, Y, and Z. And saying this because he loves you and he literally sent me to tell you this. I didn't want to do this, but here we are. And I pray that maybe later, you'll hear it or you'll get it. But yeah, man. So I don't really think about it. I was thinking about it a lot these last 2 months, but yeah, I was really just showing me like the things in my heart that still need to be like per that thought process of what I thought or what I think success should look like was still centered in Babylonian terms, was still centered in American standards. And so I was like allowing Yah to deal with me with that. And woo child, like as a firstborn daughter, always being someone that people can rely on and I can donate money and just help someone when they're like, down or they just need like some help. I was always that person. And now it's just like, well, now I'm the person that needs, some help. And y'all was like, well, how does that make you feel? How does that affect your self-image? And it was affecting my image in a way that y'all was like, it should not affect your image. It should not affect how you think about yourself. And that was really like, it was humbling. And I was in very humbling space these last 2 months and still in and now, y'all saying the things that I'm calling you out of, and though it may not look like, success in Babylonian or American terms, just because you're not flashing a bag, never been a flashy person, but just because you don't have a so-called money bag does not mean that you're still not called to this work. And that's something that for me personally, that he's really been like washing me in to be like, okay, really healing that concept of what I thought success was supposed to look like versus what Yah's calling me into. Just because it doesn't look like these I don't want to laugh, but like these prophets and pastors and evangelists who have like these billboards and stuff where they have their picture on like, meet me at the conference and get a prophetic word. Like I would never want to do that anyway. But I'm just like, yeah, these people are rolling in money. And I know that's not a stamp of approval. I know that. But it's just like, he's like, I know that's not, that's not real. That's not the real work, but like they have the ear of a lot of people. I'm just like, they're not even helping the people get to your word. I don't know what they're doing in these conferences, but these people be ready to spend their money to go to a conference. And I've been to one before. I'm just like, no one's saying repent. No one's saying come back to covenant. And I'm just like, so what's really going on? I'm like, and I don't know. This is I'm just letting y'all into my thought process of these last 2 months. But I was just like, yeah, I feel like I'm doing the work and I'm just getting slapped around. Like what? And so again, he was healing me from all that, stretching my mind and like pulling out the things where I'm still comparing like success to what I thought success was going to look like is walking in. I thought people were going to invite me to their church. I thought people were going to be like, yes, come deliver the word, show us where we've erred. And he's just like, girl, no, that's not what that's going to be like. And I was like, I think it's like settling more concretely that he's like, it's a remnant, and the people that you thought would be so excited to hear the word of God are the complete opposite. I've run into a lot of religious people who are still very deep in like church and Christianity. And I love those people. I know they have a desire to seek Yah. I think they do. And so when we speak or when we say something to them in the opposite, the conversation is not what we expected. We're just like, oh. So I mean, I knew that Yah said it was a remnant, and I knew that he said a lot of people say they love me, but they don't. But like when you're when you're actually walking it, it's still very shocking. Like, oh, okay. I don't know how to handle that feeling, Abba. And that's just, that's just kind of where that's kind of where it was into that. But remember, like Yah's always saying, I have a pillar of fire around you. I have a cloud around, and I feel it because I have a sense of peace. I have a sense of shalom, even in the midst of all of that. I still feel like if I was my old self, if I was old Samaria, I would be freaking out right now that I haven't worked. I would be freaking out right now that my accounts keep dwindling because I'm still paying bills. I would be freaking out. And sometimes that she tried to rise up like, you know what? Yeah, I say he got it. And I'm not attached to this world. So who cares? Literally, I'm becoming more like, who cares?
But you are working, sis.
I'm an overdraft fee. Who cares? I'm starting to separate from like that Americanized Babylonian mindset that I got like, like that this is the thing that's gonna keep us moving and working. But y'all's like, and if the bank account is empty, I'm gonna come through anyway. And it's just like, you're right. So let it hit zero because I trust you, Abba. And it's just like, that's where he's moving me into. And it's so uncomfortable. It's so out of my framework as a firstborn daughter, and so I'm just like, I'm in a space where I'm just literally like this most days, like, okay.
That is crazy. Like, because I was writing about how he's purging me and you too, apparently, of just like all of our quote unquote desires. Because obviously he'll make our desires match his, but like he's purging that, like you said, Babylonian mindset of like what we think we want, what we think is successful, what we think will make us feel peace and joy. And I wrote in my journal, I'm like, I need to let him purge these desires that are not, still attached to Babylon, basically. So that is so good. I'm glad he's doing the work in all of us, because wow.
Ooh, girl, yeah. I know, for some of us who've been like walking with y'all for a while, you're thinking like, oh yeah, I purged from a lot. And you have, it was a lot, but y'all showing us like, girl, it's still some more.
It's more. Like that. Okay.
Oh gosh, because what I know is that y'all's like, I have to purge this because when I do call you to speak or to say or to prophesy, you can't have any attachment to earthly comforts that could try to hinder the way I want you to deliver this word. Cause you still may be thinking, well, if I could deliver like this, maybe they'll like invite me to come back, or maybe they'll do this for me. And y'all's like, none of that. Like I gotta purge all of it because nothing should be able to catch your attention to pull you away from the pureness of what I'm calling you to walk in. And even the desires that we have, they're not evil per se, right? Like, oh, I want to live in a nice house and I have to worry about how my bills are going to get paid. Like, I just want a comfortable life and to do your will. And y'all was like, well, what if my will is that I constantly ask you to be uncomfortable? And you're just like, oh, I ain't think about that. He's like, okay, so lay it all down. Like you were saying, Natalie, like, let me purge all of your desires, even the ones that in your heart, you're just like, but yeah, this is not a bad desire. It's like, I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's not consecrated. And I think that's the difference, because if it's something that's consecrated, the enemy can't use it to pull you away. But if it's just a good desire, the enemy can play around with something that's good and pervert it. Because he prefers good things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's consecrated, can't touch that.
Wow.
Go ahead, Aisha.
I was just gonna say I really like how you applied that duplicity regarding the wilderness to just real life stuff too, right? Because I know sometimes we can actually get stuck on the physical wilderness, right? But then Yah is a double-edged sword, and so you breaking that thing down and applying that to like, like we in and out of wildernesses a lot if you pay attention sometimes, right? Some of us have been in wildernesses our whole life, you know what I mean? Depending on how you look at that, right? And where you're coming and where you're going. And just to kind of understand Yah's dual hand in everything, because he's going to give us like the prerequisites, or let me say the precepts, right? And then he's going to give you the I hate to say the New Testament or whatever, but it's like when Yahusha came, it was like everything that was physical was brought into the spiritual realm, and he's asking us to identify with that and understand that as well. So like it's a constant like pulling out, like, are you ready for this, right? Because your assignment may be much greater than the next man next to you, or vice versa, right? And so what he's applying you to, you got to be secured and ready to do that with all confidence. So the lessons that you're learning right now, you're like, okay, I got to be learning how to be complacent. I got to be learning how to be thankful with Yah at this right now, because whatever that next thing he's about to take you to, that next level about to take you to, you got to be even more comfortable, because your faith is going to be increased in that, and those that are around you are going to be increased as well. So I just kind of wanted to say that, because I really like how you squared that in with the, like, again, the duplicity, because again, you got the physical and then you have the spiritual, and they can be simultaneously, they can be separate, they can happen at different times or whatnot, but it all looks different. One of the things I used to tell my brothers and sisters, especially y'all, be careful too about how hard you're looking at something when something in your life is really present, right? Because we could be having our eyes all the way on the hills over there, like, there we are, we headed to that wilderness, and then like today, tomorrow, you're not here no more. You know what I mean? So be focused on today and what Yah has right in front of you, because like I said, there's a lot of wilderness going on in our lives right now, in empty areas that we need Yah to completely fulfill and to trust in him for everything. So that's all.
Hallelujah. I was talking to my brother Simeon this week, and I was just, being transparent with him about like just like this. I know I'm in a transitional season, because that's what the wilderness is always a transitional season. Like Aisha was saying, you've been in multiple wildernesses, you probably didn't even know it. Every time you're going through a transition and Yah's making you uncomfortable, he's trying to purge things out. That's literally what the wilderness does. And so I was like, I was talking to my brother. I was just like, I know I'm in a transitional season, and Yah is literally trying to see that I'm walking it. I'm about to walk, that I'm in a new identity, but I have not fully accepted what that new identity requires of me because it's terrifying. It's kind of like getting to the promised land and seeing the giants, and you're just like, I want to be like Caleb, but right now I'm kind of like, this is where, and I'm just like, okay, hold on. Okay, look, I know what Yah's called me to do. I know that he's called me to do this. And it's like I'm encouraging myself, but I was telling my brother, I was just like, I know that I have to go over here and have to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm just like, that's a lot. And I know I can do it, but still seeing it literally has to be Yah because it cannot be me. And I feel like in that transitional season of wilderness where Yah's purging things off of us, because they're like, the you that's being purged, the things that he's cutting off and revealing that you still have attachments to is still around while Yah is showing you the promised land that has giants running around. And you know that like in your heart, you got faith like Caleb, that you like, yeah, what up? Whatever. Like I'm gonna knock it down. But the part of you that's still being purged is like, girl, what? So there's like this dual thing that's going on within our heart and our mind where Yah's like, this thing is dying, but she's still like, she's not all the way, like I'm still working on getting those things out so that the new you, your new identity can be fully like, yeah, I'm about that action. Cause like, I'm very much, yeah, I'm about that action. I'm like, yeah, I will do it, Abba. But are we ready yet? Like, that's kind of where I am. Like, am I ready for that now? He's just like, I'm still purchasing things off of you, but you're definitely ready. And I know you're ready, but like, let me like sharpen it up some more. And I feel like that's like that weird space of just like, I'm coming into this new thing. I'm coming into this new identity. I'm walking in my authority. I've done it before, but this is going to take a little more. This is going to be a longer stride. And it's like, he knows, I know that because he's giving me the knowledge. It's going to be a longer stride this time of walking fully in that. Thus says Yahuwah, this is the word. To come back to the covenant, like however that looks, and what we're doing here on these Bible studies is going to be moved to a people who may not have the heart posture that you guys have. And that's the part I feel like he's working to purge, working to prepare, I should say, to be like, I have sisters and brothers who call me and be like, let's talk about the word. And Yah's like, but I'm sending you to people who don't have that heart posture and you haven't experienced that on a big scale yet. So I need to prepare you for that. And so that's why it feels very much like this, like resting in the transition, but also like preparing for what the next phase is, because you already have a foreknowledge, because Yah has, he'll let you know before you step into a place that this is what it's going to look like. But you're not there yet, but you got a preview like, oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead, take your time. Take your time. Y'all take your time on how you want this to work out, because I want to represent you well, so remembering that you got the pillar of cloud and the fire pillar around you too. And I think that's the thing that we have to keep being reminded of. Like the fire is constantly refining you and the cloud is constantly covering you. The fire and the cloud. It's a covered place, but it's also a refining place. That's what the wilderness is. And if we ever forget that, if you forget that there's a pillar of fire around you, forget that there's a cloud that's covering you, that makes it easier for us to revert back to the place that was comfortable, even though it was full of shackles. Okay. Oh, chapter 14. Let me make sure I read all the notes. Okay, so the notes I didn't read, you guys have them, but it just goes more into about like the sign on your forehead and on your hands. I bring out, Deuteronomy and also Revelations too, because again, talking about the second Exodus, we're talking about, we are literally in the season of Revelation right now. So knowing that you're sealed, and what is the sealing? The sealing is your obedience. It is what you do with your hands, how you think with your mind. Ooh, Ruby, I think you started a whiteboard, girl.
Sorry, I was trying to get to the notes. I need to get out of this. Hold on.
But yeah, so yeah, the notes should still be up on the note side. But yeah, so the notes kind of just that part I kind of elaborate and put more scriptures in there about Yah constantly talking about the law is supposed to be continually like bound on your heart and upon your neck. Like that's why Yahushua says these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets, because the law was already supposed to be bound on your heart and tied on your neck. It was already supposed to be literally anchoring you, like the thing that's your lifeline. Anything that's around your neck, is close to your breath, it's close to your your livelihood. And so that's mentioned in Proverbs. And I put a whole bunch of verses that you guys can check out. I know I posted these notes earlier, but yeah, so that's where all those notes are before we get into 14. It's just really hitting on that fact that like the enemy has a seal that he's going to get people to take. Some people already have it. The mark of the beast, which is on the right, is on the hand and on the forehead. Again, the enemy on what you do, what is the enemy's kingdom doing, and are you participating in it? How does the enemy kingdom think, and are you thinking like that? And so we're saying Yah's purging our thinking, and like Yah's like, I'm about to put my seal on your forehead, because there's still a residue of you still thinking like a Babylonian. And I want you to think like an Israelite, like a child of the kingdom. So she said, could you explain what reprobate mind? Okay, reprobate mind is someone who has made a decision to, it's just like blatant disobedience. And then when you walk in blatant disobedience so long, it sears the conscience. So even if someone who has a reprobate mind, if you're giving them the word, you're showing them the word, you're endowed with the Ruach HaKodesh, you have the Holy Spirit as you're literally, explaining to them this person, they're going to be like, I don't care nothing about it. I'm still going to do whatever I want. It's just very deep-seated rebellion, which is why Yah calls rebellion the sin of witchcraft. And so it's like a binding. Oh yeah, Natalie's like, Pharaoh is literally one of the first examples we see of Yah giving someone over to a reprobate mind. Like in its full context, this whole process of Exodus, you see, because reprobate mind will even acknowledge that they know they're wrong and that it's Yah, but it won't cause them to change their behavior. Because that's what happened with Pharaoh. Yeah, Pharaoh will even say, Yahuwah is mighty, and we have been evil. He's saying all this, he's aware and acknowledges it, but it never leads him to actually change his mind and seek repentance. That's reprobate. It's like, oh yeah, I know, but it doesn't, like, it just, they have a seared conscience, quite literally. If you walk in sin for so long, the mind will do that.
Because atheists always are like, oh, well, Yah hardened his heart. Yah could have, and I'm like, Yah, when it says Yah hardened his heart, it just simply means that Yah let him continue on in his rebellion. He chose not to soften his heart because of Pharaoh's pride and how he so that's I always say that, like, that is the perfect example. Like you said, he knew who Yah was, he acknowledged Yah, Yah kept giving him chance after chance, and he kept choosing, his sin.
Yeah. Agree. He allowed him to continue in his mess. Like, he could, because he ain't trying to make you from that. Like, it's a choice thing. I'll present the information and then you can choose which path, but I'm still, like, that grace part was that I'm still leaving the door open. I'm still leaving it out. I'm still trying to let you. So the hardened heart is like, you distinctly made a choice though, because he could have just struck him dead and turned the page, and he could have just wiped it out of everybody's memory to where they wouldn't even thought nothing of him or whatever. But, he still was, the hardened heart was, Pharaoh had to know somewhere that he made that decision, and that's how he got in that mess.
Yeah, it's when so T breaks this down all the time. She talks about the leb, or like the seat of our emotions, are the reins of your heart. And so when you choose to be your own reins, like when you in your mind, like, there's a very famous like poem. I hate it. Now that I read it years later, I'm like, it's so demonic. It's like, I am the captain of my ship, I am the master of my soul. It's very much like, I decide what happens to me. Like that's kind of like the poem, like, being the captain of your own ship. But Yah's like, I'm supposed to be the captain of your ship. I'm supposed to be, the one that has the reins of your mind and your heart and that lead you. But if you're still being like, nah, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, it's literally do what thou wilt. very wicked, very, you want to be your own God. And that's literally Pharaoh. Pharaoh's whole identity was that he was God. That was literally already in his heart. So anything that's challenging, anything's gonna be like, nah, bro, you not. Like, you actually have no power. It was like, because of Pharaoh's reprobate mind, his heart, his identity was already tied to him being divine. To acknowledge that he's not even close to nothing that's divine. Yes, sis, it does sound like manifestation these days. It is literally that. You know, I manifested this. I did it. You know, like, you're made in Yah's image. He brought things to fruition with the words of his mouth. So of course, you know, we have that authority too, but not outside of Yah, not outside of his will. You know, so when we start thinking like we don't need to surrender to Yah for things to be manifested in the way that he has called them to, again, it would have been like, for me, reprobate mind, when we were talking about earlier about me being like, you know, all these plans I had to build this amazing nanny, this high class Black owned nanny agency that tailored to Black affluent families in the DFW and Houston area. That was like my desire. I could have manifested that. I honestly, like, in the wicked sense, I could have been like, oh, I got all the connections, all the capability, all the people that love me and love how I work and have connected me to all these people. This is an easy, I could build this in literally 2 months if I really wanted to. Because it would have been like, oh, the universe has put all these people in my life. God put all these people in my life to do this. Of course he wouldn't want me to speak against these people who are gonna like manifest, like thinking that you're manifesting your own destiny literally says, I'm gonna do what I want to do to build the life that I want. And you don't ever surrender to what Yah's telling you to do, because it's gonna be the complete opposite. And such was the case, you know. But yeah. Hope that answered the question. Okay, chapter 14. All right, so this part is really cool. Okay, I was gonna get into it. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near Fi Hanaroth, between Migdal and the sea. They are to encamp by the sea directly opposite of Baal Zephon. Pharaoh will think, here we go, Pharaoh will think, because in his own manifested imagination, his own deluded mind, he's gonna think, because his heart is already opposed to anything of Yah or his people. He's going to think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion, hemmed in by the desert. So he was already in his own mind. He's just like, oh yeah, I got them. Like, they're done. Because look, Fi Harath literally means the mouth of caverns. So they're literally by a cave. If you know anything about caves, like once you go, they're not normally like tunnels for you to escape. It's just there's a big rock in their way. And on the other side, Migdal, which is a tower or a fortified city on the Egyptian border. So it's an Egyptian border stronghold, a hard place. And then they're directly on the opposite side of Baal Zephon, which literally means, or is identified as an Egyptian god, which is also seen as a monstrous serpent giant and one of the deadliest creatures also in Greek mythology. You know, the Greeks took everything from the Romans. So all of these things that are literally speaking, saying, oh, you're toast. Oh, the enemy got you. Like, they're literally directly looking at the enemy. They're looking at this place that was identified with an Egyptian god of chaos and destruction in like a serpent. And on the other side, there's literally a rock. There's literally a mouth of caverns, like a cave. And on the other side of them, a fortified city of Egypt. Everything around them looks like defeat, death, and destruction. Like there's no physical, natural outlook that looks like victory for the Israelites. If you're just looking and reading on how everything's being set up in these first couple verses in 14. And Yah said that it's like, I will harden Pharaoh's heart and he will pursue them. but I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all of his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am Yahuwah. So the Israelites did this. So I feel like the enemy thinks that he's won and has cornered the Israelites. This shows a clear, again, y'all's already been showing the Israelites, you have no power against me. Like, I'm going to knock out every single one of your diluted ideas of power and divinity. In all these plagues, you would have thought all those plagues would have been enough for Pharaoh to sit his tail down somewhere. You would have thought everybody losing their firstborn son would have been enough for them to sit their tail down somewhere. Reprobate, hardened, no desire to surrender or yield to the authority of Yahuwah. You would have thought that after they left Passover, that would have been enough. It wasn't. And so I put on here, in our flesh and immaturity, we have seen Yah save us from death, but because of our immaturity, as we continue to walk with him, we see and experience the warfare of the enemy and his fear tactics, his intimidation, and the lies to try to pull us back into serving sin, familiar spirits, or comfort. And we say foul things to our Adonai, like in Exodus 14:11. What does it say? Oh, I jumped ahead. But it says, it would have been better if were there no graves in Egypt? Why did you bring us out to the desert to die? Again, talking about that wilderness again. We say all these things because when everything around you is saying you have lost, your life is gone, the enemy has victory, it is Yahuwah that fights the unseen. After you have walked in obedience, after you have marched boldly in his word to depart from a place, Yah says, he says, like he told them, keep your peace, be still, stay calm. Your salvation is literally working, but you must remain firm in his word. Hold on to that mustard seed of faith to receive your full deliverance, despite the odds that you see with your natural eyes. And that's literally what we're seeing this picture here. Like Israel, just like ourselves still today, we're still looking with our natural eyes, and it doesn't look like we have salvation. It doesn't look like we have deliverance. Not saying from the spiritual things that he's delivered from, but I'm saying like physical structures in Babylon. We're just like, dang, it looks like I'm about to be done. It looks like I'm not gonna have bread tomorrow. It looks like I'm not gonna have water. He's just like, you can't even see. I just need you to remain faithful because I'm literally doing everything in the background. And that's what Israel is failing to see, and sometimes we fail to see. Never gonna like point the finger at my ancestors and be like, see, that was foul, but like not be able to see that I have been them. And I've had to check myself. Oh, am I perceiving if Yah is good based on what I see with my eyes? Or am I tasting and knowing that he's here and know that he's good? Okay, so verse 5. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds about them and said, what have we done? We have let the Israelites go and have lost their service. So that part in itself, the enemy never wants to see you let go. And not saying that they did it, like what have we done? Like you were gonna let them go regardless. But in the enemy's mind, and even in the people who are in your life who have maybe given you grace and allowed you to flow in the anointing and the word that Yah has given you later on, because they have not fully been delivered or because they have not chosen Yah for themselves, later on they could be sitting around thinking, why did we let her talk that long? Why did we let him like even talk to the scriptures to us? Like, why did we let them do that? Like, no. We got to shut this down because now we're losing the service, we're losing the worship, we're losing the honor and the respect that made us powerful. So I'm trying to break this down for today. It would kind of look like when you leave a religious construct or when you leave an unclean spiritual practice and you start sharing the good news about what Yah has done for you to other people, you start showing them how to break the word down righteously. the people who may have been in seats of authority in those places may have let you continue on in that because they like you or because there was a favor that y'all had bestowed upon you, but later on they're changing their mind, like, you know what, actually shut all that down. You can't talk to this person anymore. You can't come on our property anymore. We're not going to allow you to influence or talk to our fellow members because you're pulling them away from us and we need their service. We want their service. We want their donations. We want their tithes. Whatever you want to call it. That is what was happening here. Egypt wanted their worship back from the Israelites. When we talked about a couple of weeks ago, your service is your worship. In Israel, Moses is telling Pharaoh, they can't serve you and Yah no more. It's one or the other. So we can't play around and still dibble and dabble in serving and worshiping the way we used to do when we were in religion, and Yah saying, serve me like this, and you're trying to do both. No, complete freedom. Complete deliverance is, I'm going to serve Yah only according to what he says to do and how he says to do it. And now they're being like, oh, so I can't even have, you're not even going to come to the Christmas service? You're not even going to come to the Mother's Day function? No, I'm not coming. I'm not playing it on any sides of what I used to do and how I used to serve anymore. And they're just like, oh, well, we can't let you do that. So they try to find ways to bring you back. You was going to say something, Taryn? Hello? Your mic is off. I thought you was going to say something earlier. Okay.
Sorry, sis. I was saying cult. That's that cultish behavior. Because when you said the dominion part, as people wake up, right? Like what happened to whoever that person is or that space is saying, okay, well, let me go pray about it and see if that's what y'all are sending you to. But it was about dominion and control. I want to keep you under my control. And you could come tell me and ask for permission. If I'm not bothered, then I'll let you do whatever you want to do. But you're upset, or they were upset because people started to make their decision, like they're following a leader, something other than them, and they didn't have control over that. So they were like, no, we can't let you do that. But that's what we're seeing in the churches. You know, when a lot of people are breaking away from some of those traditional, you know, what we see from day to day or whatever we grew up on, then you do have these leaders saying that, like, I mean, they literally are telling other congregation members that they're not allowed to talk to you, to continue, you know, whatever you have, because you broke away from them. And how is that kingdom work? It's not, right? Like, but it's about control, dominion, and I say a little bit of that witchcraft, because you know, you over here trying to bend people to your will.
It's not a little bit, it definitely is.
Okay,
I would like to add to that.
Yeah.
And just say pretty much it's Luciferian. Like, that is not Yah's way. Because Yah is freedom and truth, right? And he's not afraid of like losing anything. We should never be afraid of, like, if this is word, it will not come back into void, right? But the enemy is completely different from that. Like, the enemy is going to be like, oh my goodness, oh, they're leaving, like, I'm scared. Like, they're really terrified at that, and they're going to make amends to make sure that the people that they feel like they're losing, by all means, let me get them back, because we can't afford to lose one of them. When Yah is saying, I have not lost any of them, not any of the sheep that I call mine, right? So when you see something like that, it is beyond weird, it's beyond witchcraft, it's beyond, it's all power, it's all control, it's all lies, it's all deception. It is all Luciferian. And that's what it comes down to. And we just got to call a spade when we start to see it, because it's not Yah at all. And we that are in, you know, understanding who Yah is and understanding his truth that we're in his word, we got to be bold before this, because that is what's happening all over. Like, anything, and I'm seeing it even in the political world, right? Because I deal with a lot of that, even with my job and whatnot, but I'm watching both sides of it and whatnot. I'm just watching everything that's happening and how people are losing their mind. I don't know if y'all saw this whole Tucker Carlson. I was sharing that with Samaria, this Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens thing about how they're just saying, like, this is wrong. Like, what we're doing, our involvement in, this stuff this place you guys are calling a state of Israel. This is not even the people of Israel. This is a state, and what are y'all doing? And I mean, like, these people are going through great measures and lengths to get the pastors, to get messianic leaders to basically speak against and condemn these people for speaking up against and saying what the truth is. So it is Luciferian, bottom line, and that's a Luciferian spirit, because those that are in Yah, we are at peace, we are in love, we are free, and we don't have heavy burdens. And that is what they come with: heavy burdens, confusion, lies, deception, and just all kind of, I don't know, y'all. I'm sorry.
It's definitely the spirit of Pharaoh.
Agreed.
Like, that's all it comes down to. I was reading earlier this week, and it was just like a sombering reminder. It says, "Great peace do they have that keep his laws." And I was just like, and that should be it. Like, if I know I'm walking in Yah's law, statutes, and commandments in the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, I have peace because I know what Yah's word says. And regardless of what slander or lies are being said, we can keep our peace because we know what Yah's word has said. We're not gonna be bamboozled or tricked into coming back to a place that doesn't stand on his word or speak against his righteous standard, but all while still saying they serve Yahushua. We have a peace because, look, no matter what you say, this is what the word of Yah says. This is what Yah's words say. And I'm on solid ground. I'm on firm foundation of his word. And so try your best. I got his peace. I think it's Psalms 119 verse, I forgot what verse it was, but it was like, yeah, basically, great peace are those that keep his laws, because it's just like, it don't return back void. So if you say do it, it's only going to bring me nothing but righteousness and peace and shalom and love and transformation and yeah, man, we have our peace. And Aisha said something about, like, you got to do that thing boldly. That's in our next verse. It says, so he had his chariots made ready and took with him his army. And he took 600 of his best chariots along with all the other chariots of Egypt, with officers over all of them. Yahuwah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so that he pursued the Israelites who were marching out boldly. Because remember, the Israelites don't know that Egyptians are about to chase them yet, but we do know that they left Egypt with a boatload of loot. And they was like, yeah, we out this thing. We gone boldly, standing on what Yah has showed them, what Yah has told them, moving in what Yah has called them to move. They are boldly leaving a house of bondage, deception, and witchcraft. They are boldly leaving a place of lies and distortion. There's no other way to leave distortion and lies but boldly. And when you march boldly, it pisses off the people that you leave in. They want you to leave quietly, like, oh, well, I'm just going to, leave church because, I found out some things, but I'm not going to talk about it. No. When you find out truth and and you start to realize how much witchcraft is in the church and in a lot of these religious places, you're like, oh, no. I got to go because y'all are not following the word of God. Y'all are not doing things according to his word. You say that you're a church that follows his ways, but you're not. Like, it's bold, because in your boldness can save somebody else's life. But again, the Egyptians didn't like that. So the Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, horsemen and troops, pursued the Israelites and overtook them as they camped by the sea of Finhanroi, opposite of Baal Zephnon. And Pharaoh approached the Israelites, looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. And they were terrified and cried out to Yahuwah. That's the part I was reading earlier, where they were saying, they was crying out to Yah, and they were like, they said to Moses, what was it because, they so sarcastic. I was like, wait, how did they say it? Was it because there was no graves in Egypt that you brought us out here to the desert to die? Sarcasm. Goodness gracious. What have you done to us to bring us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, again, here they go, reminding the people that Yah anointed to come save you, Didn't we tell you to leave us alone when we was in bondage? Didn't you tell us to leave us? Didn't we ask you to leave us alone when we was all caught up in witchcraft? Didn't we ask you to leave us alone when we was happy with our Christmas trees and our Easter baskets? Didn't we ask you to stop talking to us about deliverance and full salvation? Didn't we ask you to stop? And now that, like, we finally decided to study for ourselves, we started to be like, yeah, you're right. We asked you to leave us alone and just let us serve bondage. Just let us serve our lives in peace. We asked you to not reveal to us the truth because we was finding our delusion. That's literally what's being said here. It would have been better for us to serve our lies, our bondage, the Egyptians, than to die in the desert.
But who said you was gonna die? I mean, but you see people like that in your space though, too. That just be like, it's a problem with just wanting to look forward, or maybe being able to stand on your own. They have to have some kind of institution, some kind of, to follow that book or whatever. But after all the locusts, after all the stuff in the water, after all the things that they saw, they were wild in the moment. But then like that I don't know where I'm going part, that blindly, I mean, when you got the master, I got to get up and go do the 15 hours in the field. And if I don't do this, I'm going to get hit upside the head. And, but they'll choose that over the, like, there's something new out there. Just let me show you, because you don't know what that looks like. It's the trust part. It's the growth part in that.
Unknown. It's the beauty of the unknown, but
it is the unknown.
Don't know who Yahuwah is and how great it. Like, you would have thought 11 something plagues would have been enough to been like, wow, that's a heck of an engagement present. Like that. So many things. But again, they have been conditioned. It's the Stockholm syndrome. They have been conditioned to just want to seek comfort in the system and how it served them then, but y'all, like, it never served you. It was a trick. It was a delusion the whole time. And it's just like that, getting out of that, like, this, wake up. It's just like, they were kind of like, oh dang, he done got us this far. But again, like he said earlier, if they face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. That's literally what, like, Yah know. He already knew. And so, yeah, I want to get to this part right here, because this part had me like, oh, yep, better. Okay, verse 13. Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance Yahuwah will bring you today. So they had the salvation because they had the blood on the doorpost, right? But they didn't have deliverance yet. And that's like my passion. It's like, you say you got salvation, but it's supposed to lead you to deliverance. But if you go back because you got too scared to really work your deliverance, you just go right back into your bondage. Now the blood is like, you just said you had the blood, but then you didn't want to walk fully away from Egypt. Moses saying, stand firm and you will see the deliverance Yahuwah will bring you today. The Egyptians will see, the Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. Yahuwah will fight for you. You only need to be still. That's my favorite verse. Be still and know that I am Yahuwah. I will be exalted in the earth. I will be exalted among all the nations. It still requires you to be still and be quiet. It still requires you to be still and trust. Humble yourself. Realize that all you got to do is be still. And that's hard for us. Being still reveals where we don't trust. Being still reveals where we still sought comfort in lies. Being still reveals things, but not to condemn you, but to reveal it to you so you can realize, oh, I do got some deliverance I need to work out. I do, have some more faith I need to walk in. Be still. That's part of the faith. And this is the part that had me like, oh. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? And for me, it kind of felt like, it was like Yahuwah was talking to Moses like he know better. It was more like now why are you over here crying to me about this? You know what to do. Like, it was like a continuing what you've been doing. Like, I know it looks hard and they complaining, but like, why are you crying out to me? He's like, tell the Israelites to move on. Like, I hear all that crown care, move on. Like that, it kind of gave me like OG energy. Like Yahuwah was just like, why are you crying? Move on. Keep going. Like, I'm not here to hear you cry no more. You already know what I can do, what I've done, what I'm going to keep doing for you. Why are you crying? Get up and go. And it was just like, I was reading that last week, y'all. When I was feeling like, oh, y'all, I'm tired. I have to like cancel Bible study. But I was reading that when I was doing the notes last week. And I was like, we're in a season where y'all's just like, I already showed you enough. Go. Because I'm not gonna sit here and you be like, oh yeah, it's so hard. Oh, Abba, I'm tired. I can't. He just not saying that he's not gonna hear you and that he doesn't have compassion, but like you a big girl now. Like you're past milk. We talked about that. You don't get like oh yay, you're keeping the Sabbath. Oh yay, you stop participating in pagan holidays. Like that's what you're supposed to be doing. Now he's like, get up. Go. You already got the blueprint, you got the rules, you know what I've told you, you know what I've confirmed to you, what I've commissioned you to do. What else you want me to say? Like I've said everything. You want another confirmation? And it just, that's kind of like the energy that I was giving. I don't know. Did y'all get that same energy when I was reading it? I was like, yeah, I was just like, stop crying, just move on.
Yeah.
The move on killed me. I was like, oh, okay. He said,
He's like
raise your
that father, like, I got time for this. Like, get up. Like, we don't got time for this. Get up and go. Like,
oh my gosh. I was like, okay.
But that's what we do as parents. What are you crying for? Fix your face. Like, who said? They said. They said. Who is they? Do it look like I do you like that? Have you seen that model to you all your life? Haven't I taken care of you? So yeah, you like who is they?
Oh my gosh. Yes, he is a good father. He gonna check you real quick. Move on. Verse 16. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. Okay, so the sea that is the Baal Zephor, which is supposed to be full of like, supposed to be a representation of like Greek or Egyptian sea serpent. Yeah, I was like, split the sea. The thing that is named after a serpent god in Egypt and Greece, yeah, I'm gonna split it. Like that sea named Baal Zephron, split it in half. It's nothing. Like, it's literally nothing. You're gonna walk on dry ground. So they all scared of the water and whatever demons is floating in the water. I'm gonna just say split it in half and go on about your business. Again, move on. It has no power. It's just trying to scare you. All bark, no bite. That's literally what it was. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them, and I will gain glory through Pharaoh and all of his army, through his chariots and his horsemen. The Egyptians will know that I am Yahuwah when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. Then the angel of Elohim, who had been traveling in front of Israel's army, withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved from the front and stood behind them, coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel. So this is the picture was just like, yeah, he's leading us. And at some point, it's like, you have to take the initiative to keep moving for yourself. And he's going to be like, once you mature and start, okay, I've led you, you know the path you're supposed to take. I shouldn't have to keep being like, it's this way. I'm going to go around back and handle the enemy trying to pursue after you. But if you just stand still and stop moving because the pillar of fire or the cloud's not there, but you know the path, your laws are a lamp to my feet, a light into my path. The path has been set for you. You just got to keep walking on it. And as you're walking on it, I got your back in your six, in your, what is it? Your 6 and your 9. Like but you have to again, we talked about the feet, how like the base of the door wasn't covered with blood, but the sides and the top were, because your feet have to make a decision if you're going to keep walking in what he's shown you. And if you keep walking in what he's showing you, everything else is going to be covered. So I really like the picture of that, where it talked about how the angel and the pillar of fire, they stopped being in front of the army of Israel and went around back to cut off the enemy. So it got between the enemy and Israel. It got between Egypt and Israel. Throughout the night, the cloud brought darkness to one side and light to the other side. So neither went near the other all night long. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night Yahuwah drove the sea back with the strong east winds and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on the right and on the left. Yea, do I walk the valley of the shadow of death, I should feel no evil. The sea represents the chaos that it's kind of like in the beginning, where like in the beginning, the earth was without form and void, and he hovered over the face of the deep. The sea, the deep, the water, the chaos is literally on both sides of them. Yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. It's literally, they're seeing it around them. But Yah literally split the darkness just like he did in Genesis. Let there be light. And there was separation happened so work could get done. This is what we're seeing happening right here in the splitting of the sea. I love Genesis 1 so bad. I love it down so bad because we're literally just getting a repeat of Genesis 1 throughout the entirety of the word. But yeah, I digress. So they're walking through and they're seeing the wall of water on the right and on the left. The Egyptians pursued them, and all Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen followed them into the sea. During the last watch of the night, Yahuwah looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. He jammed the wheels of their chariots so they had difficulty driving. And the Egyptians said, "Let us get away from the Israelites. Yahuwah is fighting for them against Egypt." And this is what reprobate mind does to people. They already knew that Yahuwah had been fighting for them. Like the entirety of this whole pursuit seems so stupid that they're saying this because they've literally gone through 10 plagues, knowing that Yah was saying, let my people go. Let my people go. I'm going to keep slapping y'all around until you let my people go. And it's still like reprobate mind makes people forget the sovereignty, the omnipotence, the power of Yahuwah to still go around their own way. Because I was reading this, I'm just like, but you already knew that y'all have been fighting for Israel against y'all like this whole time. That's what's been happening. I'm just like, are they slow or something? Reprobate. I think that's another way to tell someone has a reprobate mind is if you're really trying to talk to them and they're just still just like, but I'm gonna keep, You're just like, okay. It don't matter what I say, how I say it. They just died. Their mind is blocked. They literally have amnesia, clearly. There's a proverb that says like something about like reading the Torah and then like going away and walking wickedness is like looking in a mirror, and then when you leave the mirror, you forget what you look like, basically. It's just like you literally just forget as soon as you stop looking at the mirror or the commandments. You just forget them immediately after you read it. It's just like your mind is wiped of the wisdom and knowledge that you just received. But yeah, so thoughts, comments, because I know I read a lot without stopping.
For me, Moses was having the conversation where he went back to y'all, like, they're saying all worked up over it. But even the split in the sea part, like he did so many different supernatural things all wrapped up in one. I sent someone before you. He sent the angel before you. And you talked like some months ago about those, bookends, like being protected like the 360 part or the front and the back type of thing. So but just leaving no room for maybe of course he's all knowing, but he sent covering behind them as well, in the dry ground, and to just go. So even as they're seeing another wonder, like he could have delivered them out of there without even it being so elaborate, so big. So, but the fact that Moses went to him and still asked, and then like, well, let me show you, and just bam, boom, pop, like that part always amazes me, because he still heard him, like he understood, just like we're talking about just our own inner insecurities, right? Our own personal, like we don't know, but in the moment where we're shook, right? Uncertain the faith, or, like, what should I do? And his message didn't change. He's saying go forward, but just what's the next step type of thing. But I like that it was just so big and so elaborate. But on top of that, just the protection before you and behind you, I like that part.
Okay, verse 26. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea so that the water may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen. Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak, so this is all night, this is going on. At daybreak, the sea went back into its place. The Egyptians were fleeing towards it, and Yahuwah swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen. The entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea, none of them survived. But the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on the right and on the left. That day, Yahuwah saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. And when the Israelites saw the mighty hand of Yahuwah displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared Yahuwah and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. So the thing that Pharaoh was getting excited about earlier in 14, where Pharaoh was just like, oh, they're surrounded by the sea, this stronghold and the cave. He's like, they're wandering around and they're hemmed in. So the thing that he thought was going to be his reason for success over them, the sea being there and they couldn't get away from him, became the thing that literally killed them. So it's literally, what's that scripture? I don't know if it's a scripture, but I know we talk about like the weapon that the enemy formed literally ends up being their own destruction. I think it's in Proverbs. So Proverbs, it says something like the devices that they planned against you end up being the thing that swallows them up. If I can remember that scripture, I'll post it. But it's something on the lines of those lines. That's literally what happened to Pharaoh here. And I think it's interesting that it says at the end where it says, when they saw this, when they saw the Egyptians lying dead, that's when they put their trust in Yahuwah. Because it makes me think, well, did they not put their trust in him with all the other plagues and signs? Was it because they didn't see the plagues because they were covered from the plagues? Or was it because they saw that their actual physical enemy was dead? Because it says when they saw the Egyptians lying dead, then they felt, oh, relief. Knowing that this whole thing was spiritual, yes, but their physical enemy, when they saw their physical enemy actually killed, that's when they're like, I can trust him. He killed my enemies. And I feel like sometimes we can get like that. Like we want to see the justice done. We want to see the verdict changed before we're just like, yeah, it's good. And I've seen the opposite end of that, where I see a lot of, unfortunately, Israelites who don't know they're Israelites, a lot of Black folks who are still hurt by, one, yes, the sins of America and all the other nations that put us in slavery because of our disobedience, obviously, but they're just like, there can't be a God, because why would he allow our oppressors to get away scot-free? this whole time. They've never paid. I've never seen justice done, et cetera, et cetera. They're still looking for, they want to see the streets full of the descendants of those who sold us into slavery. For them to be like, oh, now I trust the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we know that that's Yah, vengeance is Yah's, right? And then Yah is allowing those who are repented to be grafted into Israel. And so there's this thing where Yah says, like, if you're still waiting for me, if you're still waiting to see dead bodies, then you don't actually fear me, love me, or want to actually serve me for me. Because I'm an Elohim of covenant, but you're still looking, I don't know. That's just like something I'm still like meditating on how this equates to like some of our people's strong desire to have to see dead bodies before they fully surrender to Yah, or even believe him that he's good and that he's just. And it kind of looks like our ancestors back in Egypt, where we know they probably smelt the flies, saw the flies, heard about, they saw the first 3 plagues. But it wasn't until they saw dead bodies. But they saw dead bodies after Passover too. Like, it was a great cry in Egypt. And so I don't know. I'm like thinking out loud in real time, y'all. This is how I be going through Bible study. So y'all are, doing Bible study together. But that my thought was just like, why is it that this is the point that now they're saying the people feared Yahuwah and they put their trust in him and in Moses? Like, because they still been talking crazy to Moses this whole time. We know they're gonna still talk crazy to him later. But why was it this moment where they were just like, okay, now we fear and trust Yah in the one that he sent?
Well, even with all the plagues though, like maybe if you weren't a fisherman, you didn't see the water, you didn't understand. So you just hear the rumor, right, of what's going on. Like that's like when we hear all the cattle or the ranches and the meat factories or whatever being burnt down. Like you're not seeing that right next to you, so you feel like you're unaffected. I don't know, maybe if you didn't have kids, you're not thinking of your firstborn. Maybe if your profession wasn't as far as like raising animals that would have been used as a sacrifice, or like to make money, right? So all those different plagues might have impacted people a different way, but then at this point they're running. They can't just close their doors, or like, well, that's what y'all got going on over there, but I don't have that going on over here. So they're running, and they don't have like that safe space. That unknown is out there as well, to where they don't know where they're going to end up. So seeing the dead bodies, and then the enemy's chasing them, and then they don't know where they're going. All those things probably brought a little bit more perspective, So yeah, and they've never seen freedom. Agreeing with you, like it says, like they've never seen that. So all of that's new, unknown, and new. So okay, what you say about your God again? What you say we supposed to be doing? Like like you got somebody telling you and leading you, but now instead of that reprobate part, they're like I can see it and hear it. Like I can apply it. I can kind of get perspective in that real time type of thing. But being on the run, make you kind of say, oh, okay, well, I might want to hear. It's like if you get some sickness or something that hits you, you're like, okay, I might want to pay attention. Like now I want to pray. Now I want to get right. Now I want to,
Go ahead, Aisha. Did you mean to raise your hand, girl? Maybe she didn't mean to raise her hand.
I'm trying to come off of mute.
Oh, there you go.
I was gonna say, Taryn, she be getting me fired up when I be listening to her. She always like spark my provoked thought, you know what I mean? But it just made me think about just how right now, how everybody wants to see war and bloodshed and killing. Like they're clapping, they're celebrating. It's just like, who wants this, right? Who desires to see like bloodshed in order to believe anything? Like it's just, I guess it just goes to show there's nothing new under the sun, right? And if you're not,
just having faith, like Yah said. We were talking about this earlier too, about how he said, and Isaac was my seed. Like basically was Isaac was a promise. It don't matter of those that say Israel, not all of Israel's Israel, and not even a seed of Abraham is all the children of the Most High either, but the promise was in Isaac. And it's like, why? And it's because of the faith and the blessing, right? And it's a what's the word I'm looking for? I was gonna say dispensation, but it's not the word. Goodness gracious, I can't think of it right now. But basically, it's a changing of your character, to function and want to operate in the spirit of Yah. And most human beings, we have no concept of that because of the way we're brought up, the things that we see, like television. It just constructs our mind to be more of like Hollywood, like, oh, I want to see war. I need to see this in order to believe. I got to see, this is what makes it real, and it's not any of that. It's the Ruach HaKodesh, and it's simple. It's like, just posture yourself and listen to the word, meditate on the word, pray, and you will receive. And it's just that simple, and it's always been that simple. Like, talking about the wilderness, like, yeah, they walked around the wilderness for 40 years and they didn't even have to. Like, it's simple, but it's a transition. I was gonna say disposition. Yeah, a transition of your mind and way of thinking. We have to take on the whole armor of Yah and that helmet of salvation. And I think that's the protection, because aside from that, we just about the Lulus. You know what I mean? But that's all, y'all.
I really like when Sharika talked about, because it's final, it's freedom. I agree with that too, because we know that is part of prophecy, that is part of the second Exodus too. Like it's emphatically embedded within the covenant promises that Yah would handle our enemies. And I think the part that's so human, I'm glad we're discussing it, is because yes, there is going to be a finalization, a judgment of complete freedom, not just spiritual freedom that we have, but the physical manifested freedom that we can see with our eyes. And my thing is yes, you can hope for that, you can pray for that, but to not drool on that. And I think that's what we're trying to make sure that not sitting here hoping and drooling to see nations crumble and people dying left and right, not to be salivating on that fact, which is to know that Yah has a promise that he said that he's going to gather Israel from all the places we've been scattered, all the nations that we've been serving. He's going to bring us into a land, and he's going to judge those nations for what they've done. I know that that's part of his promise, but I'm not sitting here in my heart having a giddy desire to see people die because they refuse to let go of their sin. And I think that, again, that's the heart posture. Yeah, Yah's going to handle my enemies. I don't want anybody to die, but if they continue to keep messing with Yah's people, that's what Yah has promised. I don't need to have a desire to see the nations bombed and nuclear warfare going on all corners of the earth. And that's how Yah does it. Cool. There's a scripture that says don't rejoice when your enemy falls. That is, I think there's somewhere in, obviously, a lot of, I love me some Psalms and Proverbs, wisdom off the charts. But it's literally saying why are you getting happy when you see the destruction of those that hate you? It's yeah, because, they hated me. I hate, you said you're going to hate, my enemies are your enemies. Yeah, but I don't need you to be gloating over. There's something wrong with your heart if that's where you are. And I think that's what we're trying to understand as we're reading that. I don't think it was I don't even think that they were there's a joy that there's celebration and freedom, right? But we're not celebrating that people have died in their wickedness. We're just ooh, yeah, you saved us, you've delivered us. And I feel as Yah mature this in our heart and our faith, we'll begin to understand the dichotomy and also the differences in what that joy of freedom looks like from the hands of our enemies without harboring a desire to see them treated how they treated us. That's what I'm getting at. Go ahead, sis.
It remind me of Bible verse. I cannot remember where I saw it, but it remind me of where Yah would have basically said, if you pray a certain type of way in terms of the demise of others, he will turn away from it. So, especially if you're praying bad for something to happen, he will turn away from it. I do not remember where I read it, but that's what it reminded me of.
And I truly believe that's why in Psalms or Proverbs, like in the wisdom that Yah gave David, he was saying that, like, don't be praying for the destruction of your enemies. Like, Yah, again, your will be done, Abba. Like, cover your children, cover us. Like, recompense is yours, vengeance is yours. And I feel like seeking freedom and justice according to Yah is different than seeking vengeance. And that's why he says, vengeance is mine. Let me handle vengeance, because you can't handle trying to harbor vengeance and while also screaming you want justice, because they don't mix. Vengeance and justice are not things that the human vessel can function in. That's why Yah's like, let me handle the vengeance. You pray for justice. You pray for righteousness. You pray that my perfect will be done. And in that, I will handle the passing out of my vengeance. But we got too many people who want to be like Yah and be like, oh, I can handle walking in vengeance and still pray for justice. No, you can't. It's going to taint your heart posture. And he knows that. So with that being said,
But I think of too, like, how do you not be fearful? Like, even if someone's being judged, right? Like, it's a sad thing.
It's very
Because
sad.
that's not what he wants to do. But at the same time too, I'm just like, somebody else, like, say they were disobedient and whatever, this little choice, but then you were disobedient because you didn't obey. You were told to do this, but we start to measure our stuff for, like, I'm not as bad as this over here, or whatever the case is. But while you saying, yeah, he got you, and you're gloating in that, or you're like, that's exactly what you deserve, type of thing. That same measure, right? That same measure.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think that, like, where I'm at and what I know, I might be chastised more, but it's still sad all the way around. I don't want to see that, because if he coming for them, then I can't misstep. He gonna get it.
You know what this made me think of? Look, so if Yahushua's telling us it would have been better to be in Sodom and Gomorrah than what it's going to be like when the judgment comes, he said, don't be like Lot's wife, don't look back. And that's, you can't look back for no reason. Don't even look back to see the destruction. Like, don't look back at all, because clearly you're focused on the wrong thing. Focus on what's ahead of you. Focus on that promise. Focus on the restoration. And you, even if you're not looking back because you miss Babylon, but you want to look back because you want to, you want to, like, you still have to look back to see Yah's vengeance. You need to look forward.
And you barely made it out, and you got the nerve to be like,
come on.
And how quick the wind can blow that you get forgetful or off mark,
turn into a pillar of salt. Like,
I mean, I don't want to see it with nobody. The desire is for all of us to get it right, but you can't gloat in that. You can't, you can understand that this is biblical. This is history. This is what happens. He already told us, if you do X, Y, Z, then this is what you get. But still, when it's unfolding, you don't want to sit and kind of be happy or revel in that,
because that makes us like our enemies. Because I'm just thinking about what our ancestors had to go through, even in the captivity that we were here in America and the scattered of the earth. People would literally gather and host picnics to watch somebody hang, to watch our brothers, our sisters, our cousins be hung from trees. And the enemy would literally gather around and make a picnic to watch that. You want to have that type of heart posture? Like, that is like when we talk about the things that have happened to our people on various continents and in various countries, and obviously, yes, very wicked, very unjustified, very heinous, but the fact that people still came to watch and to cheer to see that, what makes you different besides saying, oh, well, they deserve this justice, like, you're still sitting around making a picnic to look at someone being bombed and filleted. Like, I don't know. It's just like I don't want no parts of that. I just want
Until it hits your
to
house.
focus on what I just want to focus on what Yah's bringing me into. Like,
You say that again. Until it hits your house.
Until it hits your house.
That's it right there.
Even the fear tactic that was used by, I'm gonna show you what happens if y'all run. I'm gonna show you what happens if you like slave type things or whatever the case is. The fact that they had an audience, right, was bad. It wouldn't have been able to go on that long had they not had an audience. You still went there to go see and to bow down and the be compromised, right? That's why you got to stay in line, type of thing, until it hits your house. So it's all fine until the master did something to your kids or to your spouse or to whatever. But it's all we got to do, and as long as but they keep moving the goalposts. So even in the context of these people oppressed us or the slave, whatever, but what did we do to encourage that? What did we do as complicit or going along with it, right? Like, not thinking that we could come out of that bondage type of thing. So, and I'm gonna tell you, I retired Air Force, and I think I was a good 24, 25 years old. I went to Afghanistan, and it was the saddest thing ever to see suicide bombers. Like, I grieved, and I left Afghanistan and did like 2 weeks in Germany, and to see like the Army 18-year-old troops getting ready to go, all they wanted to do was go fight, kill, and I'm like, you don't understand how that's gonna mess up your life, like how it messes with your head. But they just program like, we got a task, we going to war. And I'm coming back from a place of watching little kids be used as suicide bombers, to literally be 9, 10 years old, put in a vehicle to just try to breach the gate and blow up. And their parents believe it, like the whole culture, like it's for a cause. And then to come back, and the American people, we just want to go over and just, we can't wait to kill somebody. We can't wait. And I'm just like, wow, like this is what we're doing. And will they feel that same way after they for real see it?
And it's still happening right now. Like, it's just like
it grieves me, that part of like what we don't know, but the socializing of it, or the part that we're playing now too. In that, for and a lot of people don't have a clue the history, the bigger meaning, or whatever. Sorry, that's my drive. But just to really see that in real life,
that's why that thing is so sad. Yeah, when you see it hands on, it's just a whole completely different picture. And to see people willing to just take themselves out for what they believe, but then like our people can do it just for the fun of it, or just to see like, oh, this is the enemy, like let this be. That's why I said the level of bloodshed. I mean, it's just.
And how we blindly follow without even asking to know, like, how does that fit right with you, or whatever. Like,
right.
Yeah. I'm so thankful I'm retired and not, like, I understood.
Me too, sis.
It takes a lot out of you, but it's definitely something bigger. And you said the need for bloodshed, that could just be, and not a strong need for it, but that's just it's the lack of understanding, not knowing the history, something within you. And then are you just repeating, like what you grew up and been around or whatever, and that sort of thing. But
life is so much easier when we just let vengeance be Yah's. And I feel like there is a remnant of us who understand that, and we're just like, look, I know America's under judgment. I know these other nations are under judgment. I'm just gonna mind my business and keep my eyes focused on Yah, because it pays me no, it gains me nothing. To be sitting in the corner cheering for, the judgment of America. I'm gonna pray that y'all's judgment happens, while I'm also focusing on making sure I'm gonna be in the kingdom. And again, I think it's at the end of the day, it's about the focus and keeping our hearts pure so that we can be without spot or blemish. And we don't want any anger or vengeance to have a seed in us that will cause our hearts to be on the wrong end of the scale, when it comes down for him to look at us and to look at our life and our hearts and our minds. So, but yeah, that's why, growing every day, submitting every day. But with that, y'all, I just want to that was, good Bible study. I didn't expect us to talk about war and military, but obviously we're talking about battling and coming out of Egypt. So everything is so seasonal, on time. What Yah's doing as he's preparing us for our second Exodus, and just to keep our minds on him, even when it looks like the enemy has the upper hand, he doesn't. Yah's going to use it as an opportunity to show you that he got you. He got you. And he's going to say, why are you crying to me? Keep moving. And like, that's like my favorite part of tonight was just like, Yah was like, why are you crying to me? Move on. And that's just where we are. Move on. And so with that, we're going to close. Oh, you was going to say something, Dominique?
Right on time. No, I was saying right on time in regards to the move because I'm literally moving. That's why I am late because your girl tired.
Hallelujah.
I need y'all to pray for me. Give me strength in this hour, please.
Okay.
Because the legs are breaking down as we speak. So yes, my last day is Sunday. So yes, continue. I just wanted to let you know right on time.
Yes. Stop crying. Move on. Okay. So any prayer requests before we close out for tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, go first.
If you could just pray for me and my family and just for I don't know how to say, just for health, just steadfastness.
Health and steadfastness. Okay. My pen. Oh. Anybody else?
I would say yes. Just in this transition as I am moving on, um, just keeping my children and I in prayer, as well as I know what we were talking about in regards to war and the enemy, and it's just not in the situation of just being at war in the literal sense as far as what's happening here, but there's a war in the spirit that's transpiring, and it's a spiritual war that's happening right now. And so I'm like, that's a fight daily that I'm fighting against, because the closer I'm getting to the promised land, the more the enemy is like just lurking, and so and I can see it, and the Father's giving me this, he's showing me just different things he's been revealing to me during this transition. And so just vengeance is the Lord, and just continuing to have the self-control and um to endure the long, with the long suffering, just keeping all of everything functioning during this transition. But he's been so good, and I'm so thankful, and I mean, like, he's so good. That's all I could say. And it's due to obedience, and that's it. That's all, so people are asking me, and when they want to know, that's what it is. It's your faith, in believing in the things that you do not see. Literally, you do not see it, but you believe it.
Yeah.
And he has been providing for us, and I'm just so thankful, and I'm truly blessed at this time. So, but yes, just keeping us lifted up as a whole.
Gotcha, sis. Sharika said, peace of mind, understanding and strength to continue. Yep. All right, y'all. Let's posture ourselves for prayer. Oh, wait, let me close. Stop that.